Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Friar Talk. I don't expect too many people to tune in. I know it's kind of a surprise. I know we haven't really. I think it's been 2 weeks since we uploaded our last video, but nonetheless, we just wanted to talk about this because we know that it's kind of a confusing time for Padre fans. It's a weird thing where one week you're kind of thinking, hey, this team might be pretty good, and then another week you're thinking, where this team's not that good, and I think it'll go as far as saying to be the most confusing team in baseball. Because I mean, one week they sweep the A's, and of course the A's aren't that great, but they're not bad. Um, my connection might be bad this whole time, by the way. I'm not entirely sure, but one week they sweep the A's. The A's aren't that bad. The next week they get swept by the Mets, as you guys see by the headline. Ever since the Mets had Grimace throw out the first pitch, they are 5-0, and they're 8-2 in their last 10 games, and they're slowly but surely catching up to the Padres. I believe they're only like a game or two back right now. So right now, from seed like 4 or 5 to one of the last seeds in the NL, I mean, everyone's close. Everyone's close to a playoff spot right now. Even like the worst, even the second, third worst team in the NL is close to a playoff spot. So in a time where I think it was 2-3 weeks ago, the last video we shot, we were saying, we expect the Padres to be 5 games above 500 by this time, by today, and now they're a game under 500. It's confusing again. I keep saying they're a confusing team, but I don't really know what else to say. I mean, today they put up 6-7 runs. They end up losing 11-6. Dylan Cease has not been as good as we had hoped, or as he was at the beginning of the season. Bullpen hasn't been that good lately. I mean, it's a weird spot, considering the bullpen was one of the best bullpens in baseball for a few weeks, for quite a long stretch, and then the rotation had been pretty solid too. And every time Dylan Cease took the mound, you kind of expected the Padres to win. And these last few weeks, it just hasn't been the case with Dylan. That hasn't been the case with Dylan Cease. I see Jaron said 7-9 since Musgrove and Darvish went to the IL. While that sucks, the offense is really inconsistent. Yeah, I mean, losing starters is tough, man. That's why you traded Juan Soto, so that way you had starters and you had depth. But in reality, it's like when your ace Dylan Cease isn't giving you quality starts, he's not going out there every time. And I mean, he had a good start his last game. I think it was against the A's? I'm not entirely sure. He had a good start last game, but other than that, I mean, it's sometimes been rough for Dylan Cease. So Yu Darvish going down obviously hurts. Joe Musgrove going down. I think I saw something today saying Joe Musgrove is supposed to like switch up his delivery or something like that in order to alter something. I don't know what it was, but he's supposed to switch his delivery in order to save his arm or something like that. I don't know. It's really weird, man. I mean, Randy Vasquez hasn't been horrible. Adam Mazer has not been good. I know it's tough to be critical of a guy that's so young, but at the same time, you're in a year where you really need to start winning, man. You're in a year where you can't really sell because you're too invested into these next few years. You got Manny locked up for 11 years. You got Xander locked up for 11 years. They're in the thick of their years, and if you sell and you just kind of stop trying, we just wasted that money, and you're just wasting talent. So you're in a position where you can't really sell, but if you're not in it at the deadline, you can't really buy. It's a really weird spot for the Padres to be in. It's kind of like last year, except last year you saw the Padres were more of a, you thought they would pick it up. They waited until the end of the season to pick it up, but deep down they just didn't look like a very good team from the beginning. This year, at times they look like a really good team. They've had 2 5-game losing streaks. They've gotten swept by the A's, the Phillies, or not the A's, I'm sorry, the Phillies, the Rockies, the Angels, and the Mets now. And 3 of those teams are under 500. 2 of those teams are the worst teams, or 2 of the worst teams in the league. And you got swept by them. So at one point, the Padres were the best team on the road. And these past 6-7 games, they haven't got a single win on the road. So again, I keep saying most confusing team in baseball. And when I say that, I mean it. Because I mean, at one point they were the best road team in baseball, and then these past 7 games, they're the worst. They were horrendous. They couldn't put up runs. They struggled mightily. So, don't get me wrong. Like, I think they're a good team. I think they're a good team. Again, I really do. I think when they're on and when they're playing good baseball, I think they're one of the best teams in baseball. They're super fun to watch, but days like this, series like this, man, they look horrendous. And it's unfortunate because I feel like the NL is wide open. You see, other than the Phillies, I mean, I was saying in our chat today, in our Fire Talk chat, that you can probably just fast forward to October now, because it seems like the Phillies are going to be that team to make it to the World Series. They're dominant. Their rotation's dominant. I think they lost the series to the Orioles, but it doesn't really matter. Rotation's dominant. Is dominant. They're just a really good team from top to bottom. So, if I had a betting favorite for the World Series right now, I would say it's the Phillies. And nonetheless, that's the team that you're going to be playing in this next series in Philadelphia. I don't think last time I remember, the Padres. So obviously in 2022, they got swept in Philadelphia in the playoff series. They didn't win a single game in Philly. And then they got swept in another series, or one game in a 4-game series last year in Philadelphia. It's been tough sledding for the Padres against the Phillies. And I honestly don't think it's going to get any better. I think right now you're looking at, it's supposed to be Vasquez, King, Waldron in these next few games. So we'll see how it goes, man. But I'd be happy with taking one from the Phillies, and that's unfortunate, because I think the Padres have the talent to beat the Phillies, but the Phillies have our number. They have had our number for the past few years. So again, going back to the NL, you see that Mookie Betts fractured his hand. I hope he gets better. I really like Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts fractures his hand. Yamamoto probably going on the IL with a rotator cuff tear. I think it's minor. I forgot exactly what it is, but it feels like the NL is wide open, man. Other than the Phillies, I mean, maybe not wide open because the Phillies are so dominant, but it feels like you have a good shot to go for the division, if not be the 4th seed in the NL. The Braves aren't playing that great. The Dodgers just lost 2 of their best players. The NL Central's always been kind of trash. And this was an opportunity for the Padres to kind of bust it open and be 5 games plus over 500. And this has been the problem with the Padres for a while now. They can't get that done. Every time they get a chance to go multiple games over 500, they can't get it done. Anytime they get a chance to have one of the easiest stretches in baseball and give themselves a nice cushion, they just don't do it. I don't know why. It's been that way for the past 2 years. You even saw stretches of that in 2022 where Padres got an easy schedule. You're thinking, oh, they'll beat up on the Angels. They'll beat up on the A's and the Diamondbacks and all these teams that you think they're so much better than, and they don't do it. It's super frustrating, because right now we should be saying this is a good team. They beat the bad teams, and that's honestly what we've been wanting from the Padres, right? We've been wanting them to compete with the good teams and destroy the bad teams. And nonetheless, they're doing the same thing they have in the past: compete with the good teams, do bad against the bad teams. And I don't know why. I think the players know it too. They interviewed Jake Cronenworth. Jake Cronenworth said, I don't know why we do bad against the bad teams, but something's got to give. And nonetheless, not that the Mets are awful. I mean, they've won 8 of their last 10 games. They've been pretty solid lately. But that's a team you should be beating, man. I fully believe that is a team that you should be beating. You didn't face any aces. You faced Quintana, who's been getting rocked. You faced McGill, who has like a high 3 ERA. These are very winnable games, man. Of course, Dylan Cease got rocked, but Matt Waldron threw a solid game. I mean, the Mazer game, it was pretty winnable. You only put up 1 run, but yeah, ever since the last time we recorded, it's been pretty disappointing for the Padres. That's and that's not saying a lot, because they've been pretty disappointing for, I wouldn't say a majority of the season, but considering their record, yeah, you could say they've been pretty disappointing for the majority of the season. They've been hovering around 500 all season, and at some point you got to break it open, and this was the chance to do it. Now you're a game under 500 going into series against the Phillies and the Brewers, 2 teams that are leading their division. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're bad. I think at this point, you just got to say they're mediocre. And in my heart, in my heart, I really do think they can be a good team. I think they can, if they put it all together and, there's some consistency, they can be a really good team. But the inability to beat the bad teams is what's been hindering the Padres from, getting 90 plus wins in a season for the past 2 or 3 years. So, or even 4, because you look back to 2021, They had negative records against the Rockies, the Diamondbacks, the Giants had a great season that year, but the Rockies, the Diamondbacks, they couldn't handle them. They haven't been good, man. They've been really bad against bad teams, and I don't know if that's because they're a bad team or it's because they just play down or up to their competition, but I don't know, man. I mean, you guys tell me because I truly do not know. I'm gonna look at some of you guys' comments. I know I've kind of been rambling, but my bad. I'm sorry. Um, so again, I'm gonna look at some of you guys' comments because I didn't know I was hovered over the Leave Studio. But let me see. Let's see. This team is a slump busters of the league, going through a rough patch. Padres are to make you look like a team destined for the postseason. The Padres are allergic, and yeah, that's been the case all year, man. They've been allergic to going over 500. It seems like, and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm the only one that thinks this, but I don't think I am. Every time they go 2-3 games over 500, you just know they're going to lose the next 2 or 3. That's been the case all year. If you look at it, they go multiple games over 500 and then they lose continuously and they're until they're a game under 500. I can guarantee at the end of this Phillies Brewers series, there'll be a game over 500 again because that's just what they've been doing all year. That is, I hate to say it, but it's mediocrity at its finest. When you just hover over 500, man, that's a mediocre team. That's not a team that you get into the playoffs. And maybe this is just me being frustrated because it's confusing. But it seems like everyone's already looking forward to the trade deadline. Everyone's already thinking what arms we can get. Everyone's talking about Crochet. Everyone's talking about Luzardo. You see Kevin Acee and all these guys talking about how the Padres are looking for bullpen arms. I think that's the right move, by the way. Bullpen arms need to be a priority because other than Estrada, and I mean he had a rough outing today, but Estrada's been really solid throughout his time with the Padres. Other than Estrada and Suarez, you're looking at a Wandy Peralta who's every time there's runners on, 65% of the time they score, which is by far the highest rate in the league. Yuki doesn't have great strikeout stuff. I mean, you're looking at a bullpen that, and Enyo De Los Santos has been awful. I hate to say it because I was kind of excited when they traded for him and got rid of Barlow's money, but De Los Santos has been a guaranteed home run almost every time he's up there. So bullpen arms should definitely be a priority. If you're going to go after Luzardo, you might as well go for Tanner Scott as well. But none of that matters if Manny Machado does not get back to what we signed him for. If Manny Machado does not get back to that 2021, 2022 version of Manny Machado, none of it matters. I hate to say that. Manny Machado is my second favorite player after Fernando Tatis, but if Manny Machado is going to be playing the way he is right now, and I know, you know, I commented on Twitter earlier, somebody brought up how he's been better these past few games, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care. I mean, the numbers got to be back up to an 800 OPS at minimum, especially because he's been DHing so much. He hasn't been playing a lot of third base. Dude, your one job is to hit, bro. Like, his one job is to hit, and he's not doing that successfully when he's DHing. When he's playing third base, he's still not hitting very successfully. And quite honestly, if he's going to be playing injured, I don't want him playing. I think he should hit the IL. I really do. What's the point? If you're just look, he's never been Johnny Hustle. He's admitted he never will be Johnny Hustle. But Mark Vientos committed an error at third. He could have been safe at first, and he was jogging it out. And it can be frustrating. It can be frustrating when you see something like that. You know, like I've always argued with people about Manny hustling the first. I've always argued with my dad. I've always argued about it. And I said he's never been that guy, and that's perfectly fine. If the numbers are good, then I don't really care. But quite frankly, the numbers aren't good, and he's still not hustling the first. What are you getting out of Manny Machado right now? Because I can't name a single thing. I hate to say that. I love Manny, man. I was all for extending Manny Machado. I wanted him. I never wanted him to leave. I want him to be in a Padres uniform for the rest of his career. But If you can't run to first, if you can't give us your all at first, if you can't consistently play third base, and you're getting paid $35 million, I think it's deferred money, but AAV is $35 million a year. And you're not playing third consistently. And if you're not playing third consistently, you need to be like Bryce Harper was when he was DHing. You need to be able to hit some bombs and be amazing at the plate. Are you getting any of that from Manny Machado right now? No. Go look at his baseball savant. Go look at his numbers. They're not good, man. They're just not good. It's not. A while ago, we talked about Manny and Fernando in the same episode. And we talked about how Fernando looks hopeful. Nonetheless, Fernando's been one of the best players in the league over the past month. He's been one of the best players in the league. He's the second best outfielder in the NL right now. Him and Jerickson Profar are on track to be the starting outfielders for the National League. And then we talked about Manny. And we said it doesn't look too good for Manny. Manny's baseball savant does not show that he's even been. It doesn't even show that he's been unlucky. It doesn't show that he's been an unlucky player. It doesn't show anything that gives us any signs of hope that he will be better. The fact of the matter is, Manny Machado has just been downright bad. And quite frankly, I can't tell you guys why. I mean, I looked at the pitches that he was demolishing in the past few years. It's always been the off speed, but I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's wrong with Manny Machado. And it's bad because I've been noticing this for a little while. He gets a pitch down the middle and he's barely missing. I mean, he's fouling it off straight back, but point is he's missing. And those are pitches that you don't want the $35 million guy to miss. I don't know if it's added pressure. I don't know if he's playing obviously he's playing injured, but I don't know if there's another injury that's hindering him. I don't know what it is, man. I really don't know what it is, but Manny Machado does not look like the guy that you signed to be the captain of your team for the next 11 years, 10 years now. Right? So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's a really weird thing. The Padres are only going to go as far as Manny Machado takes them. You can say the same thing about Xander Bogaerts. Both of them. You can say the same thing about both of them. You're only going to go as far as they take you. So, Xander Bogaerts isn't going to be back until August, though. So right now you're looking at Manny Machado and you're saying, hey, this team rides with you. This team isn't going to be good if you're not good. So the weird thing is he's only 31, about to be 32 years old. It's not like he's washed. It's not like he's super old. Truly, he's just not playing good baseball, man. And I don't know why. It's really sad because you signed him for a lot of money. And in your heart, you know that 2022 was so magical because of Manny Machado. It was so cool because he was the guy. He was the runner-up MVP. He was the captain of the Padres. He was the guy that would have someone drive him from San Diego to Arizona, and he wouldn't go on the plane just so he could play the next day. He was that guy. And now you're looking at him and you're saying he just does not look the same. I don't know what it is. So I feel like Manny Machado might be the main topic of discussion for the Padres right now because, quite frankly, if you're not at least getting Johnny Hustle, you're not getting anything out of Manny Machado. And I hate saying that. But the realist in me knows that if you're not getting even some hustle out of Manny, you're not getting anything. So I hate saying it, man, but it's the truth. And then, you look at the rest of the lineup, it's like you don't really know what to think of it, right? Fernando had a bad game today, but he's been one of the best players over the last few weeks. Arias is solid, of course. Profar has been great. Jake Cronenworth has been pretty cold lately. But really, you're looking at the roster and you're saying this team has names. This team is one of the most marketable teams in baseball. This team has great stretches. So how are they a game under 500? And you just don't know. And then you look at teams like the Guardians, teams with low payrolls, and you're saying, how are they better than the Padres right now? And don't get me wrong, the Padres have had a tough schedule, but I really don't think it's an excuse for where the Padres are right now. So sorry if my connection's bad. I kind of expected it to be bad. I don't know why, but yeah, I really don't know what to think right now, man. Let me know. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know. Ask me some questions. I'm open to any questions, whether it's Padres related or not. I didn't watch on Friday. What did I do on Friday? I forgot what I did on Friday, but I did anything but watch the Padres. Damn, what did I do on Friday? Anyway, yesterday I went to a birthday party. My parents came over. We didn't watch them. I mean, I think we did watch the Padres. And today I did not watch the Padres. I wasn't even with my dad, and I didn't watch the Padres. I didn't want to. So I actually watched The Dark Knight. If any of you have watched The Dark Knight, that is one of my favorite superhero movies. It's an amazing movie. But back to baseball. Again, I keep saying it. I do not know what to think of the Padres, man. It's so weird. Let's see. And I get it. I get this comment, Philip. It's let me see let's see what Devin. So you're talking to Devin. She'll need to stop the optimistic side. This team simply has and see, I get it. They're winning series. But the problem is they're not sweeping series. They're not. Every time they have a chance to go multiple games over 500. See, the difference between sweeping a series and winning a series 2-1 is huge. You win a series 2-1, you get an extra game over 500. You sweep a series, you get an extra 3 games over 500. Dude, it is massive. And the Padres have only been able to do that once this season. The Padres are the last team to get a sweep this season. So I don't care about winning series. I mean, of course, I do care about winning series. But the Padres need to start sweeping series. Because at this point, you're a game under 500. You need some win streaks here at this point to feel safe to go into the playoffs. And yeah, so I mean, okay, I get it. I'm sorry, Philip. No, I do get it because Mike Schilt says some outrageous stuff, way too optimistic for me. I don't like hearing him say, "Well, we're winning series." I get it. Like winning series is fine, but again, sweeping a series is a massive difference from winning a series 2-1 or tying a series. Like it's huge. And the Padres have not been able to do it. I will say the highlight of the Padres the past few weeks or the past week, Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill has been fantastic. I think he's top 3 in WAR according to Fangraphs, and when it comes to center fielders. The kid has been amazing. He's gotten his OPS up around 100 points over the past few weeks because he has 4 or 5 home runs in the past week. We're starting to see the power from Jackson Merrill. The defense has been there. The contact has been there. The on-base ability has been there. The speed has been there. Everything has been there for Jackson Merrill. And now in the past week, you're starting to see more of what he could be. You're starting to see more of his power. And he has been the highlight. Other than Fernando, he has been the highlight of the Padres. Another highlight has been Michael King. Michael King has been great. Under a 4 ERA. Really tossing some gems lately. I've been really happy with Michael King on the mound lately. Other than Fernando, and of course, Jurickson Profar has been fantastic all year. But you go back to the rest of the season, man, and you say, hey, in 2021, it was losing to the Rockies and Diamondbacks and almost it prevented you from getting into the playoffs. Those easy games, right? Prevented you from getting into the playoffs. Now you look at this year. If you're in September and October, barely hanging on to a playoff spot, you're saying, oh, just like Devin said, you're saying if we didn't get swept by the Angels, the Mets, the Rockies, those are not good teams. Those are teams that should not be sweeping you. They should not be sweeping a team with this type of talent. If you're barely hanging on to the playoffs at that time, those are going to be the series you look at. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, it was a roller coaster past 2 weeks for the Padres, man. I mean, they sweep the A's. They split with the Diamondbacks. Get swept by the Mets. Get swept by the Angels. Bro, I honestly, I swear to you guys, I do not get it. I do not understand what's going on. Sorry, I'm trying to look. Jackson Merrill, Matt Waldron, Jerkson Profar, and recently Michael King have been standouts. And of course, like Jaron said, Luis Arias has been fantastic. Honestly, it's weird because you look at the lineup and you say Arias has been great, Profar has been great, Tatis has been great. Cronenworth is kind of cold, but at the beginning of the season, he was great. Ha-Seong Kim's turning it around. Dude, you look at the lineup and you're saying most of these guys have been pretty damn good, maybe except for the catcher position and Manny. Most of these guys have been pretty good. You Darvish tossed 5 really great games so far. Joe Musgrove tossed a few good games. Michael King's been great. Dylan Cease had a great start to the season. Bullpen had a good stretch where they were one of the best bullpens in baseball. So when you hear all that, you would think this is one of the best teams in the National League. Nonetheless, they're sitting in the 6th spot, a game under 500. And you're wondering, how the hell is that happening? Because truly, based off what I just said, you're thinking this team's good. When in reality, you are what your record is. Your record is a game under 500. Therefore, you are mediocre right now. And I don't want to believe they're mediocre. I'm more optimistic. I do think they're going to make the playoffs. I do think they're a good team. I think they're barely going to make it, but I think they can make some noise in the playoffs. They just got to get there. But there's quite a few problems with the Padres right now. And it's not even the fact that they have to add at the deadline. They do have to add at the deadline. Don't get me wrong. Like, I know they're going to be aggressive at the deadline. AJ Preller is, I don't know if he's fighting for his job, but it feels like he damn near is. So if AJ Preller is going to be aggressive at the deadline, again, does any of it matter if Manny Machado doesn't pick it up, if Xander Bogaerts doesn't pick it up, if Joe Musgrove isn't healthy, if Yu Darvish isn't healthy, if these bigger contracts are not playing up to their potential, up to what we signed them for? Does any of it matter? It doesn't. It really doesn't. Again, the Padres go as Manny Machado goes. The Padres go as Joe Musgrove goes, Yu Darvish, Xander Bogaerts. The Padres were at their best last year when Xander Bogaerts was good, quite frankly, in April and in September. Xander Bogaerts had 2 great months, and the Padres nonetheless had the 2 best months. Those were their 2 best months. Same thing with Manny. So if those guys aren't playing up to their potential, the Padres are just going to be a mediocre team. Let's see. Isaac, if the Padres go shopping this trade deadline and knowing what you know with their current faults, what you thinking? Relief pitcher. No, you're right, Jaron. Relief pitcher. It has to be, right? Because it's got to be arms in general. You look at the lineup, it's solid. It's not great, but they're putting up more runs. They're putting up 6-run games, 7-run games. They're able to hang with the best offenses in baseball. We've seen that. We've seen that time and time again. They're inconsistent, but they're able to do it. See, and it's funny. I think people would say bats are necessary, but it's not the addition of bats that are necessary. It's the resurgence of bats that are necessary. Manny Machado, we need him back. We need him back to what he was. Xander Bogaerts, we need him to be what we signed him to be. If all these guys play to their career numbers, this is a damn good lineup. You look at from top to bottom: Luis Arias, 2-time batting champion; Fernando Tatis, Silver Slugger type hitter, MVP type player; Manny Machado, at one point MVP type players. Jerkson Profar is playing fantastic right now. Xander Bogaerts, I mean, Ha-Seong Kim, Jack Hill's playing out of his mind right now. You look at from top to bottom and you think, hey, this lineup can hang with the best of the best if they're playing up to their potential, if they're playing up to what we know they can be. I mean, kind of the same thing with the rotation, right? Yu Darvish can throw some great games. Joe Musgrove can throw some great games. Cease can throw great games. Michael King has shown his potential. I like Randy Vasquez. I like Johnny Brito. I like some of these guys. Matt Waldron has been, against my words, fantastic. He has been amazing, and I will gladly eat my words when it comes to Matt Waldron. He's been great. But then you look at the bullpen, and hey, the bullpen's had some great games. The bullpen had some great weeks, right? But you're also saying Wandy Peralta, whenever he comes in and there's runners on, they almost always score. Yuki Matsui's blown a few games. Suarez feels as safe as it gets. Who else is there? Stephen Kolek. Estrada's been great. I mean, other than today, he's been solid. He's been really good. I think it's only been 2 bad outings for him. But other than that, what do you have really that you're actually confident in and day out? It's not like in 2022 when the Padres were in the playoffs when they would trot out Nick Martinez, Robert Suarez, Josh Hader, Tim Hill, whatever it was. You just knew they were going to shut it down. You knew they were going to be lights out. Now, if Peralta comes in with runners on, you're scared. If Enyo comes out of the bullpen in general, you damn near know a home run is about a. What else? Yuki. Point is, you don't really feel that confident in any of these guys coming out of the bullpen, except for 2 of them. So, I don't know, man. I see Michael Lee says immediate significant changes must take place now. Stop waiting. The fans stop the hope of thinking this is playoff team. Machado, who's a cancer of mediocrity, sabotaging, needs to be traded ASAP. Sorry, Michael. Manny will not be traded. Again, it's a confusing spot for the Padres. It really is. It's a weird spot for the Padres where you're saying they can't sell. They're too deep into this to sell. They're too deep into contracts, into the commitment, prices, everything. They're too deep. They can't sell. But at this rate, can you really justify buying? Also, no. It's a weird, really weird dynamic and it's a really weird spot again that the Padres are in. So I don't know. I don't know what they should do. I, of course, want them to buy because I want to think that they're a playoff team. I want to think that they're a team that can make a run. But quite honestly, at one point you say this is a playoff team, and then time and time again they prove why they might not be a playoff team. Because getting swept by teams like the Mets, getting swept by teams like the Angels show that you're not ready to compete in the playoffs. Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably gonna end it in like 8 minutes. Let me know the rest of you guys' thoughts. Of course, it's a tough series. It's a frustrating series. It's a team that you didn't really expect to get swept by. It was the past 2 weeks where you said, "Hey, I think the Padres can easily go on a run here." It felt like the Padres were about to go on a run. I think they played the Royals, and that was the last good team they played before. I don't even want to say the Mets. That's the last good team you really played. And here you are, a game under 500 again. At a time, the Padres had one of the top 5 toughest schedules in baseball. And now 2 weeks later, after having one of the easiest stretches that you could possibly have, they're still a game under 500. So whatever you guys' frustrations are, I completely understand. I have those same frustrations. Again, I do think they're a good team. But you are what your record is, and right now they're a mediocre team. But I mean, you look at the future, and it's not as bright, right? You still got Machado, you still got Bogarts. Ha-Seong Kim's probably gonna leave. Some of these guys have a few years of control, but you're not overly excited for the future either. So you got to hope they handle business against the Phillies and the Brewers, man. You got to hope out of those 7 games, you got to hope they take 4. And it's a tall task. It's a really hard task, right? Because you're facing 2 of the best teams in the National League right now. But you have no choice, man. I mean, the next 7 to 10 games, the next 10 games are really important. I think the Nationals are included in that. Those are 3 teams that you're fighting for a playoff spot with, whether you believe it or not. The Phillies, of course, they're going to make it. They feel like a shoe-in. The Brewers are probably going to make it. But nonetheless, if they don't make it as a division winner, you're still competing with them for a wild card spot. And then if the Nationals are going to keep playing the way they are, you're competing with them as well. You're competing with them right now. I think they're tied with us for the 6th spot. This is the most important 10-game stretch of the season so far. Realistically, the past 2 weeks were the most important 2 weeks, not because of the schedule, or not because of the difficulty of the schedule or who you were playing. I mean, I guess it was kind of who you were playing, but it was because you had a chance to go multiple games over 500 and show your fans that you are capable of beating those easy teams, because in the past you've not been able to show that. Yet here you are, a game under 500, and you can play the blame game. You can blame whoever you want. You can blame Machado. he's probably the primary focus, unfortunately. Um, I hate to say that. I mean, that's a guy that you want at the plate realistically, but every time it comes up to the plate now, you're kind of scared because you don't really want him in there right now. And quite frankly, I think he's better off on the IL. I think he should have hit the IL as soon as the Angels game was over. Um, I hate to say that, man. I really like Machado, but you got to be a realist and realize, and you got to say that if he's not playing third base, if he's not hustling, if he's hitting home runs, if you're not getting the Machado that you signed, what are you getting? You're not getting the player that you thought you were getting. You're getting a really mediocre or bad player. So that's all I really got to say about the Padres. I don't really want to talk about them anymore. It was a tough 2 weeks to watch them. Nonetheless, I do think they're a good team. I think Matt, Chase, and I might be on different sides of the spectrum. I think Chase might be more on the side of keep our prospects. Matt and I are more kind of like, I mean, I understand if you sell, but I also understand if you buy or stand pat. But these next 10 games, okay, I'll answer this last one. To Isaac, if you had a portal that could go back in time, would you travel back and advise Seidler not to extend Machado? Yeah, I probably would. And that sounds hypocritical of me because at the time I really wanted to re-sign Machado. I was really happy when we got him back. But I don't want to say this about him because I don't think this of him at all. It seems like he got comfortable after the contract. And I truly don't know. We can only, suspect what is going on with Manny. But the signs do point to, I don't know if he's going to be what he once was, at least not this season. But I hope he is because we need Manny fucking Machado back. We're only going to go as far as he goes. So thank you guys for watching. I don't know the next time we're going to record. We're all pretty busy. Matt's going to Tokyo. Chase is working a lot. Maybe I'll record sometime this week after work. Maybe I'll record on Wednesday. I don't know. But it was good chatting with you guys again. I know things aren't going great for the Padres right now, but we can only hope that it gets better for them. We can only hope that they make exciting moves, that they beat the Phillies, they beat the Brewers. This next 10 games are a good stretch because Lord knows the past 2 weeks have not been a good stretch for the Padres. So good night to you all, and go Padres.